Please, for the love of God,
Ooh.
ice speed, man. That
Well,
lost a ton.
what?
A ton. A ton.
I'm sorry,
4
what?
seconds.
In a landslide victory, no contests at all, Bowser's Fury 80% is the world record that we're going to react to today. If we look over at the world record history, which is always a fun thing that I like to do, there's this very competitive cluster of people going for the world record. You got such names as like Fur in there, CMFP, Valu, and they are all kind of vying for this world record. And it kind of just stops right here. And the reason that it stops right here is because Bowser's Fury is a little bit of a fixed run. I think Fur made a pretty good video on this, actually. He created a video along the lines of, like, the problem with Bowser's Fury or something like that. And that problem is that there are cycles that kind of limit the ability of this game. But there's still something to be said about figuring out the ways to tweak that cycle and push the game further than people think that it could be pushed. Because we know when Valu set this like 2720, people thought that that was pretty darn close to the end. I think it's quite interesting because this is a very unique Mario speedrun. You know, it's not just about being really good at platforming. It feels like you're doing some sort of like intense calculations to figure out what order you can get things in order to manipulate how the game works. It's some genius level stuff, and the routing really reflects that. This game is broken up into 5 Furies. You basically are trying to get as many of the cat shines as you can before the Fury arrives. That's where kind of all of the math comes in, is like, by collecting the shines fast enough, you can shave off the amount of time that it takes for the Fury to start. So that's what makes this such an interesting and complicated run. You're going to notice that a lot of the movement is kind of jumping in these like zigzaggy lines, and that's just because he's doing something called vectoring. When you travel in diagonal lines through the air rather than just in straight lines, you can pick up momentum because you're traveling in multiple different axes at the same time. The movement in this game is based off of the 3D World because, you know, this was a package deal, 3D World and Bowser's Fury coming to the Switch. The movement in this game is copied from Bowser's Fury, or from 3D World. And it can let you do crazy stuff like that long jump vector you just saw.
Moving, man. It's very
I always love that movement. The using Bowser Jr. to like bounce yourself up the stage. Already Nin-Tanner has 5 cat shines. The Furies have different thresholds. The first Fury you need 5 cat shines. The second Fury you need 15. The third one you need 20. The fourth one you need 40, and the last one you need 50. So you can see that Nin-Tanner's already got the 5. Getting those 5 as fast as possible is paramount to how this run works because it allows the Bowser's Fury cycle to arrive sooner. So Nin-Tanner got the 5 fastest possible cat shines that they could in order to make this route work. That's kind of how it goes. This is part of what makes this cycle possible, by the way. There was a time where, like, I think they had to collect a different order of cat shines because getting the threshold for this particular cycle was basically impossible until Nin-Tanner started implementing that jump that you just saw, using Bowser Jr. to, like, hop up onto the bridge. Yeah, and another cool thing that's borrowed from 3D World is the idea that you have this like little cursor on the screen, and you can use the cursor to control where Bowser Jr. goes. So you can use Bowser Jr. to collect things like coins or shines. And so remember, 5 was the threshold for how many cat shines we needed. So now it's starting to rain, and it's starting to rain relatively early compared to like a casual playthrough because like he got these shines super fast. And so here's the first encounter with Bowser. Every time you finish a Fury cycle, you have a Bowser encounter to kind of go along with it. All of these fights are scripted the same way. So you're seeing Nin-Tanner is using his claw swipes on Bowser and then immediately turning around and cat dashing towards the lighthouse. And that kind of cancels any knockback that Bowser might incur on you. So you can stay in place and continue swiping. And that's how you do this first fight very fast. And then as soon as Bowser's dead, you back out to the menu and you just go right back in. Now, this first part never uses Plessy, but Plessy is probably one of the most cracked parts of this entire speedrun. See, I knew about that tech, but I still didn't even really see it coming. So you can basically, Plessy has this move where they'll like dive under the water and then jump up, and you'll like get a speed boost. If you time it so that just right, so that you're kind of like coming up from like the bottom of your water dive as you're hitting something, you can get this massive boost of speed upwards and just like jump over the stage like Nin-Tanner did. It's not going to be the only time that they do that, by the way. And I think the really interesting thing is like not only is this game really complex in how the timing of it works and like what is available to you to do, but you're controlling two characters at once. So like not only are you trying to make sure you know where Mario is and what Mario's doing and where Mario's going, but you're also in like direct control of Bowser Jr. at the same time, and you have to manipulate Bowser Jr.'s position to collect things for you. And sometimes all it takes is like a misclick for Bowser Jr.'s position for you to just kind of lose your pace completely. So like major props for being able to kind of focus on this many things all at once. Is this no Amiibo? Okay, right. So let me explain the difference between Amiibo and no Amiibo. So the Fury cycles happen on kind of a regular interval that we know about. The difference between no Amiibo and Amiibo is that with the Amiibo, if you have a Bowser Amiibo, which is like a physical figurine, you can use it and tap it onto your Joy-Cons or your Pro Controller, and what it'll do is it'll immediately start the Fury happening. So like Bowser getting angry and like causing problems on purpose. Also, I have to go back to this because I just glossed over something that was really important. This is one of the coolest tricks in the whole run. All right, so right after he collects this shine, this is a really cool bit of tech here. This is what we call like ice crouch boosting, maybe? Something like that. Essentially, doing a cat dive towards the ice and then spamming crouch like as fast as you possibly can just builds up this incredible amount of speed, and then using the propeller cap to just fly all the way over to this flying island all the way out in the distance. That obviously makes this really, really fast. And the other benefit to this is that the propeller cap that he's wearing right now is like exclusive to a certain set of islands, but because we're using this hyperspeed to just go all over the place, we can carry this propeller cap anywhere we want, like this island here, and you can just fly around and make things a lot easier for yourself. I think it's really cool. Now, this is always an interesting shine to me because you have to beat Boom Boom, and Boom Boom is a boss fight. You need to hit them 3 times. It doesn't seem very fast to me, but you can see where this kind of multitasking is coming into play. The cursor is being pointed around the screen while this boss fight is happening, and Bowser Jr. is going to collect shines that are like around the arena. There's one up in the sky. There was one underneath. While this boss fight is happening, Tanner is purposefully getting something else during the cycle, which I think is nuts. Like there's a lot of multitasking going on in this run. It's crazy to see. Now, if you remember, the threshold for Fury 3 is 20 cat shines, and we are already there. So the way that it works now is like Tanner can use this time to collect cat shines. If you already have the amount of cat shines you need going into a threshold, then you just get 60 seconds to do all of this. So whatever remains now is just like whatever Tanner has time for, basically. So this is another Bowser Jr. thing. Bowser Jr. is stuck in like the invisible tower there. And you can see that Tanner is aiming at a rabbit all the way across the stage. You have to have your cursor like solidly on that rabbit and home in on it in order for that to work. And he just did it under pressure, by the way, because he had messed up getting out of the tower in the first place. You're asking why they quit out to the home menu or like just let it go. It depends on how long the cutscene is, but the idea is that like you can reduce the time of the cycle. You can reduce the time of the Fury cycle if you back out and come back into the game. And why that is a thing, I'm not sure, but every single Fury, you're going to see Tanner is backing out and coming back into the game to just kind of refresh that Fury cycle and make it a little bit faster. There are so many like weird little timing quirks about this game because it all revolves around how do you get Bowser to start attacking you as fast as possible, but also within reason, within your time reasoning, right? So now, going to go back to Plessy. Nice little long jump vector there.
Perfect.
Oh, that was really well done. Did you see that? Do you understand what just happened? So the rain is coming down. That means that the Fury is about to start. And as soon as he gets to Plessy, like everything goes dark and it's Fury time. A couple of seconds after the Fury begins is when the bells activate, as long as you've met the threshold. So Tanner is like perfectly timed this jump so that he can jump right into the bell instead of being too far away or too close for you to be kind of respawned into a different position. That was like perfect. And that's exactly what you want to do every single time you jump into one of those bells, because you can save time. Plus, he moves so fast. Also, very interesting thing that might not really make sense right now, but Tanner is currently facing the camera directly to the right, like not facing where they're going at all. And that's because you can't really see it right now, but there's like an island out in the distance. And if you are familiar with 3D Mario games at all, you can kind of see the island up in the top corner there, actually. Anything that's on the camera is loaded. Anything that's off the camera is unloaded, and that's to save memory. So Tanner is manipulating the position of that island by looking at it, because that island is moving away. So all of this is done on purpose. Like, the camera angles, even in this tunnel, are done on purpose, because he's trying to keep his camera on that island so that it is moving while he's doing other things. And that'll all make sense in just a few moments.
No, no, no. Please, for the love of God.
Ooh.
Ice speed, man.
Well,
That lost a ton.
what?
A ton. A ton.
I'm sorry,
4
what?
seconds.
Man, I love that ice slide. That's so much fun. Can we just watch that again? I just want to watch that again. So, uses the ice slide across the two.
God, flippin'.
And look at all the speed, man. It's going so fast, the video feed can't even keep up with it. Holy crap. I love that. Oh, it's so fun. A lot of people say they stopped running this game because of the mashing required to do that trick, but it's just, it's so fun to look at. Like, how can you hate that? It's too good. Like, look at that. Bowser Jr. is, like, sniping them out of the air. There's so much trust in Bowser Jr. to be able to do this. I remember, like, Fur used to struggle a lot with controlling Bowser Jr. and making it feasible for Bowser Jr. to do things, but Tanner makes it look really easy. Now, this one's really cheeky. I love this. So, using the mountain to block Bowser Jr. and then selecting the rabbit all the way out in the distance like that. Also positioning Mario exactly where another cat shine spawns. Because this game kind of works in cycles, right? Like, when you visit an island, a cat shine appears. If you collect that cat shine, you have to, like, leave the island and come back for it to spawn in more stuff. Might have noticed that Tanner is, like, going to a different island and then coming back right away, and that's for that reason. But also, if you collect a cat shine that is outside of the islands, then it can also help progress that cycle forward. So now the final Fury requires 50 cat shines, but the game kind of enters this, like, perpetual state of Bowser being angry, and it goes into the Fury relatively quickly until you reach the end of the game. So Tanner has 49 shines and just needs to get one more. So they're just going to do that really fast in here. And so now we have to beat up Bowser. And if I remember correctly, that is like a critical hit that Tanner just did there to get, like, a double hit on Bowser as Bowser was, like, rolling around. That requires, like, precise positioning and timing to do, so that's really difficult. And now we enter what is essentially the final fight of the whole game. This fight is also fixed, no RNG. So Tanner knows that he can skip all of these ramps on the side and go directly to the one where you're actually allowed to hit Bowser in the game, and watch this. Tanner's going to hit this from the side like this. That knocks it into Bowser, but also makes it so that he's closer to the bell cluster so that he can hit it from the side again. And Bowser's supposed to be getting knocked back this whole time, but because of the positioning, he was able to just, like, get 4 hits in a row like that, no problem, and not have to chase Bowser around the map, and the run is already over, just like that. Bowser's dead. Bowser's deleted. Can we see that part again? Yeah, sure. So yeah, comes across, goes across the island, through the trees, doesn't matter. Goes directly for this ramp. This ramp, Tanner knows, is the one that actually, like, Bowser's actually going to let him get hit. Hit it from the side. Hit it from the side again. Puts you in the perfect place to hit it again from the bottom. And that knocks the bell right in front of you again, and then you just touch it again. That's it. Usually what happens in that fight is you have to chase Bowser around the map in, like, a big loop, and you have to do it a couple of times. Tanner is, since December, kind of the spearheading force of Bowser's Fury any % world records. There have been a couple of routing changes recently, and Tanner has brought the record down 10 seconds in the last month or so. And you could even go so far as to say, like, 20 seconds in the last 2 months. And that's kind of the beauty of this game, is that, like, even though people claim there might be a problem with speedrunning this game because it's based on cycles and there is a certain cap in certain places, the magic of this game is about figuring out how to manipulate those cycles and use the game system against itself. And it almost feels like you're doing a puzzle. It almost feels like you have to have a brain the size of the sun in order to understand it and in order to manipulate it. Tanner says that 26 is going to happen any day now, so keep your eyes on it. I think this is a really interesting run, so you should definitely go check it out. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much for watching. Underneath in the description, you'll find a link to Tanner's Speedrun.com profile, the world record without my commentary, as well as all of the other world records that were broken this week, because there are a handful. If you made it this far, as always, thank you so much for watching. A lot of the people who stumble upon these videos are not subscribed to my channel yet, but if you want more content like this, make sure you do subscribe. It'll let you know when new videos get posted. And if you want to support this content and see it continue into the future, feel free to subscribe to my Patreon like these fine folks here. They keep the dream alive, and I am super, super grateful. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.